Hi everyone, Hugo here, one of the co-hosts of the show. What you're about to watch is a highlight from one of our most recent episodes. To get access to the full version, receive 2 exclusive episodes a month, get every episode 1 week early, and help us stay as independent as possible, support us on Patreon through the link below. Thank you. Now enjoy the show.
But we saw what I think will probably be made into a terrible chudbait movie in a few years. So after bickering with Federal Border Patrol for a few years, I think since like 2021, the Texas National Guard decided to take control of Shelby Park, which is a
That was a
47
classic.
Yeah, that was so stupid and kind of, in a way, eye-opening. But I'll get to that in a sec. But this is a 47-acre area in Eagle Pass, which is along the Rio Grande. Which, if you don't know, that's what separates the U.S. and Mexico. It's a big old river, right? So, for a little background, the Texas state government is even more fascist than the federal government, and Governor Greg Abbott took it upon himself to seize the park via emergency declaration, citing the supposed migrant crisis. So the Texas National Guard closed the park, started blocking U.S. Border Patrol from patrolling the area. All right? So you replace one fascist goon squad with another. So what? There were a couple things that made this event notable. So first, while yes, Border Patrol is very bad, obviously, Greg Abbott and his cowboys are way worse. Like they are way worse. So after seizing the land, they started putting up razor wire, not just along the Texas side of the border on the land, but in the water. So
Yeah, of course.
just to be clear, crossing the river is dangerous enough, but these freaks wanted to make sure people got sliced up, caught in wire, and drowned. That to me is like shocking on a human level. Like, fine, you don't want immigrants to come in. You think they're bad for reasons, whatever. Surely, like, human decency would be like, let's not put it in the water.
No, we just came back from, like, I don't know, 2 millennia ago when we were putting fucking sharks and alligators
In
in
moats.
between the castle where the wealthy lords and lordesses live and the peasant villages outside. And we've come absolutely full circle in the wealthiest country on the planet. It is beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's genuinely shocking. It's really gross. But, like, the second thing that this represented was the first time in living memory that we've seen a genuine standoff between state and federal military forces in the U.S. So on January 20th,
Civil.
I know that's what back
The
then.
movie!
God, that was so bad.
Oh, God, fuck
I
me.
could
yes,
go on a
yeah,
little bit of a
yeah.
rant about.
That was
Civil War,
this
the
year
movie.
as well, God.
That was this year.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
summer this year, yeah.
Oh, that was this summer. Man, I've lost track. But anyway,
It was a great cultural event where all Americans of all perspectives could come together.
I haven't
and
seen
unify.
a
Oh no,
movie.
that was the assassination of the CEO. Where I'm confusing the two.
ooh, spicy.
All right,
But,
continue, IVP.
Yeah, sure. So January 22nd, Supreme Court told the Texas National Guard to pound sand, right, and just let Border Patrol back in. They're like, guys, cut it out. We know, yeehaw, cowboys, don't mess with Texas, all that stuff. But Greg Abbott was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So, vowing to, quote, protect the sovereignty of the state. So soon after that, 25 Republican state senators, that is all of them, minus Vermont, I believe, pledged to support Texas and send their own National Guard troops if needed. Then on the 23rd, the DHS, Department of Homeland Safety, those are the people who visited me a couple of years ago, they gave the Texas Attorney General an ultimatum. Stand down, remove your razor wire. You've got until the 26th. So on the 25th, Texas Democratic representatives called for Biden to put the Texas National Guard under federal control, thereby committing the cardinal sin of messing with Texas. And the DHS's deadline passed on the 26th. And nothing happened. They didn't back it up with force. Texas won, likely setting a precedent that states can do whatever they want when push comes to shove. So since then, Texas has had to redirect funds from other state services to fund their fascist border policy, notably in the prison system, worsening conditions for inmates, which honestly Abbott probably sees as a win-win. He's like, oh, I get to kill migrants and kill prisoners by not providing, food. Great. So as U.S. conditions worsen, I would say probably expect to see more of these, constitutional crises between states and the federal government, as especially right-wing states realize that
All of
things
them,
aren't. Exactly. But, especially,
Yeah,
Texas,
yeah.
Florida, the rest, they're going to be at odds with the federal government even when their guy is in charge, right? We're going to see that with Trump very shortly. But there were a lot of other things that happened in January, but I don't want this episode to go too long, so there's two for you.
I agree, and not to look at personal experiences as a Balkan boy, but as Yugoslavia slowly deteriorated because of many different foreign and domestic policies, these states, which were a part of a larger federation, started looking forward to separation more and more and more. And most likely, I don't think that JT is pushing the argument too far, but in the next probable half a century, there will be unironic state senators that are not only flirting with the idea of higher state independence or even separatism, balkanized, but some that might actually believe in such an ideological current as to preserve the wealth of our state as the rest are deteriorating further. We're not about to feed Wisconsin or something.
Yep.
We need, Texan money for Texans, et cetera, et cetera. And if you genuinely think that that sort of rhetoric can only be thrown at immigrants and not at other types of Americans, then I don't know, have a bridge in San Francisco to sell you. But that's politics, that's people, that's death. Enough about that. Let's talk about something that's actually important, and that is money.
Hey.
So Nvidia, many of you might know it, many of you might not. The joke about 2024 is people learn what Nvidia is. But at the time of writing, it might be the best place on the planet to work at least when it comes to how much money you will be grossing. They jumped to a $2 trillion evaluation back in February from $1 trillion in a matter of 8 months.
Wow.
To give you a better understanding of how massive that jump is, it took them 24 years to reach 1 trillion, not even a year to hit 2 trillion. This crazy monopoly money amount is underpinned by their ability to utilize the AI craze that's been hitting the markets for what feels like 20 years, but is around 2 years now. Most listeners probably think of gaming graphics cards when it comes to Nvidia, but they've been pretty much pre-planning the introduction of AI as we define it, at least at this current time, for more than a decade before it came to fruition, which allowed them to mass produce hardware that's needed to run the mega processing plants that are, again, necessary for AI as we define it now to function. Basically, they invented, how do I put this, new oil for a new type of car. AI processing needs these chips like cars need engines to run, equals money. But yeah, we have companies waiting in line for months on end to get deliveries from Nvidia, which has a pretty massive bottleneck due to the crazy demand and also instability in its Taiwanese production facilities. Hence also not the main reason, but one of the many reasons why the U.S. is saber rattling and why they consider Taiwan to be so important to their economy, even though Taiwan is supposed to be an independent country. But that's a different conversation. So we got motherfuckers out here delivering chips in military convoys and armored cars. That's how valuable this shit has become. Many are trying to compete with Nvidia, of course, at the moment, and as the decades progress, they might catch up or this whole bubble might burst. But until then, Nvidia will continue to be king of the hill, sitting on a pile of gold, chips. As of now, though, this was mind-blowing, at least to me, they're evaluated at 3 trillion. Yes.
Good Lord.
It went up to
Ridiculous.
3 trillion now in December 2024.
Wow.
So yeah, anybody working at Nvidia listening to this, you have a fucking Patreon button downstairs. Okay, Patreon button downstairs. Do you so you don't feel
You're
that
welcome.
bad? Okay,
Also,
you're welcome. Free karma.
Nvidia, help me out here. Also, I think they're releasing is it the 5090 that requires its own power plug, like its own. It's ridiculous. That's so funny, man. The new computer's gonna be a hog. I tell you what, I'm gonna 2 power cables coming out of the back of your PC. Anyway,
But
continue.
but they start a whole like that's it for February. We can move to March, but maybe the one thing that should stick in people's brains from this, we tend to think that like the cloud is actually the fucking cloud, and I'm sure all the Zoomers listening to this are like whatever, but everybody that's arguably 30 plus might learn something. Like all of this processing that you're doing digitally actually needs to be done somewhere in hardware physically, which needs a lot of resources, both literal electricity that causes a particularly high amount of CO2 emission, but also resources like creation of said hardware that is capable of creating such mass output. The internet kind of, while being, I mean, we all basically live off of the internet, and I'm very grateful to it, and I love it, and I live on it at least 50% of my day. But we need to remember that it's not something separated from physical and material reality. There is direct impact. Every Google search or every ChatGPT entrance or even every hosting of a podcast such as this has to be stored somewhere and has to process a certain amount of energy for you to get it, or for us to create something that is stored on said server farm. So yeah, it's I just find it very funny when motherfuckers be like, "Hey, look at your fucking truck," and then I don't know, they run and they drive a Tesla, but they run like a fucking super AI startup out of Silicon Valley that fucking runs drones over Afghanistan and shit.
Honestly, like every time you ask ChatGPT to give you a recipe for muffins or something, you are personally strangling a sloth or perhaps an endangered salamander or like a small, cute little dik-dik, which is, I think, a deer in Africa.
Dik-dik?
Yeah, they're really cute. So keep that in mind, Don't strangle them.
Absolutely.
Use your brain. You can write. Come on.
Exactly right.
Thank you for watching. To gain access to the full episode, receive 2 exclusive episodes a month, get every episode 1 week early, and help us stay as independent as possible, support us on Patreon through the link below.